I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silent prayer for Bill Tracy. Thank you. So I've asked Neil just to say a little something about our buddy, our good friend, Bill Tracy.
Well, for those of you who don't know, Bill Tracy passed away recently after a long, protracted illness down in the hospice house, the Nancy Dodd house at Gloversville. It was a blessing that he finally went with this dreaded disease. But for those of you who have seen and know bits and whatever, Bill was a really involved community person. Quietly, but a really, really great guy. 40 plus years, my next door neighbor, and a better one you couldn't have. Barbara and he really just great friends to the community, both of whom were involved in village elected seats as mayor and others. Long time, almost 4 decades of Lion volunteerism, and quietly, not a chest beater. He will be missed. He has been missed over these last few years, and I'm glad that the community came out for his service today, and I thank Betsy for the time to give him his props. Great guy.
Okay, thank you, Neil. Okay, next, has everyone had a chance to read over the minutes from the January 17th meeting?
Yes.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Discussion.
Resolution number 17. I can't remember what the resolution said. But it says Town of Lake Pleasant Town Board to pay National Grid for electric service on Fish Mountain Road. It's not really electric service, it's moving poles and wires.
Right.
And that might get confusing to somebody that reads it and ask why we're paying $26,000 for electric service.
And this is maybe better said that we're moving
and
poles in preparation for a major construction job there,
Right.
a FEMA job.
Okay,
Which resolution was that?
17.
Move that as amended.
Yes.
Okay,
I will second the
okay,
same.
so it's amended, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next highway report?
Okay, starting off with some cleanup from last meeting. The heat in the front office that Don was speaking of, come to find out was the electric backup heat thermostat we figured was bad. And we unhooked it and solved the whole heating of the whole front office by one electric
Oh,
baseboard heat.
just like
Boiler system was working great, we had the boxes, everything was fine, but
one of those things where if we get airbound or,
no, it's electric heat.
so a short, dead short?
The thermostat was reading it was cold in there and kept pumping the electric heat and heating the rest of
There you
the
go.
room up. So,
And which room was this?
My office. I'm supposed to all the time.
Definitely wanted toasty feet.
Not that
I
those.
thought it was having hot flashes.
No,
So the door, Don, was adjusted so it closes better. It does have some hydraulic oil leak in it and it will need replacement at some point.
Thank you.
The flagpole, if anybody's noticed out back, had light is out on it. And we are
Out here?
trying to remedy the situation, but there's corrosion down in the electrical box. So we had to buy some pieces and waiting on the rest of the pieces. The first attempt didn't fit underneath the gazebo because it just wouldn't angle right. So I'm trying to get a waterproof one. The heat in the closet, when Andy and Jeff came down, it was fine and dandy in here. So it's any sporadic coldness, hotness, we don't really know what's going on. For whatever reason, some days it's hot in here, some days it's not.
Is there a window in there? Sun come in?
I don't
No window?
think that's adjusting it, it's through the duct system,
Yeah.
so. There's no thermostat near us, would have, could, you know. Next is, since we just discussed the National Grid Power, that bill was sent out, that check. And miraculously, the next day from our board meeting, we got a letter from FEMA, actually Betsy did and forwarded it to me, stating that our project was finally approved through FEMA for the full amount of what the bid came in at.
That's timely.
Yeah, so thankfully, everybody says you'll never get it in writing, well, we got it in writing. So that's
God bless.
a big step there. Didn't think it was gonna happen, but it did. Besides for that, we have, in the buildings department, we have a chimney that's decaying at the shop. A piece of the brick block chimney came off. It's on the east side. And I inquired about putting a sleeve in it and waiting for prices to come back and such. Obviously, it's a summertime job to tear down a chimney, not this past weekend. It's an oil burner, the fluid's still good. We opened up the clean out and looked up it and so on and so forth, but
So that's one of those, we literally put a new sleeve down through.
break down to it, yeah. So,
Very good fix.
but that'll be a summertime when the furnace is not running, non-stop. The trucks I spoke of, we had to do some spring work on the old one. Came to a couple $1,000s. We did the rear and then the front one was just as bad, so we ended up doing that also.
220.
$2,000.
220. The groomers have been out as much as possible. Mostly just doing Perkins Clearing and Elm Lake Road. The roads, the snowmobilers have been here, but to groom the woods trails is very limited at this point. We have blown a couple hydraulic lines, but, you know, rather minor, so. Saving on fuel, put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, wear and tear.
Getting reports that the trails are okay and as good as can be.
Yeah, I got one today, fresh from folks who were checking out of the inn, and they were very pleased with the tree farm.
Tree farm.
Obviously, everyone's disappointed about the trail along the river, but we don't want to make any icicles out of anybody, but it's nice that at least they can more safely and
Right.
securely do the lakes.
Yeah, I kinda suspected that and said
Yeah.
that at the beginning of the year that we probably wouldn't be riding that.
No,
But we put barricades up and they went around them and so on and so forth, so.
Yeah, well, it's their own risk if they do.
sure.
Right. We had some runarounds at the Twigs going through the parking lot and such, so we put more barricades up. And then they went around those barricades on the weekend. So then on last Monday, we took the loader over here and built a snowbank.
There you go.
And then carved the edge of the snowbank so it was a 3-foot wall straight up and down that.
There were tracks up and down both sides of Page Street the whole way.
You know, I can't fix stupid.
No,
Just have the sheriff sit there,
Yeah.
like they have plenty of time, right?
Right.
Or entitled.
They did sit there 2 Sundays ago and spoke to some people, but it's the Saturday night, Friday night.
sure. But as you know, word gets around very quickly if a ticket or two are written for road riders, so.
Right. And the woods trails are thin enough that they're saying, well, I might as well just run down the road. And,
Yeah.
you know,
Nothing you've ever done.
I can't stop that. Did you say me?
No, I was, the guy sitting behind you.
Yeah.
We have
Okay.
a night at the top of Fish Mount, or, Golf Course Road. Just park there.
Yeah.
Can't fix it.
I
Golf course.
believe we're gonna be talking about the bridge ban later on,
Yeah.
so I won't go into
That will be next under old business.
And then I asked for committee meetings, but then I didn't call anybody because we have not gotten the quotes in like I suspected. I have the truck part of it, but not the body part of it.
Okay.
And the truck part just came in Friday, so I spoke to the body guy and he said to try to get it to me by Wednesday, so. That's it.
Anything new on garbage truck or nothing last couple of weeks?
Supposed to be built tomorrow.
That was from the last schedule, yes.
Yeah, that's the last schedule, but that was prior to ice storm in Texas, so.
Yeah.
Right. That's true. Forgot about that.
Okay, that's it? Okay, next would be old business, the ban resolution for the Fish Mountain Road culvert replacement. Has everybody, I sent a copy to everybody, has everybody had a chance to read it? Yes, Randy, did you have any concerns that you, no? Okay, so, this is a ban that we're going for $600,000 to cover, a FEMA project, which Randy just mentioned was now approved. But we were afraid we wouldn't have the money in time for spring to start our work, so we are applying for a ban. Once the job is completed, which we're figuring it will be completed in the fall, hopefully, no, late summer. Late summer, we're hoping by late fall that we will get our FEMA money and we can pay off the ban before it is even due for payment. Yeah,
That would be ideal.
ideal.
But, you know, a year ago and 6 months ago, when it seemed like this was not gonna coalesce,
Yeah.
you can't stop these
Right.
jobs from going forward. This is a bond anticipation note. We've done them before. It's the best way to control our interest exposure. And, it looks like it's gonna gel up pretty good.
Yep. Okay, so if everybody's had a chance to read the resolution, it's like 5 pages long, it's from an attorney.
Of course. A lot of whereas.
It's from an attorney, she said.
Yeah, so I guess what we need is for the board to vote. I approve it, Steph. If each person wants to say their name so that Steph can write it down, is that what you wanted to do, what we have to do?
It looks like it,
Yeah.
Well, you
Okay.
have to,
Roll call.
We need a
So-
motion.
so- let
this
me-
page has to be satisfied.
Right, right. Okay, so, I move that we go ahead with this ban,
I second.
okay? All in favor, would you say your name?
O'Connell, aye.
Mark's eye.
Tom Browning.
Okay,
Aye.
so all in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay,
Build we must.
so we're all set with that. That's a biggie.
Yeah.
I just wanna say it's a lot of work for Stephanie to be doing, especially in her, just completing her first year on the job.
And during tax time.
And during tax time and in the process of passing a local law. Okay, so next is the campground update. So far, all correspondence that are coming back are just plain double talk and very evasive by the state.
Really?
The county chairman, is really pushing for a meeting, but they're still not committing to come. So just keep sending letters, just keep pushing it, do whatever you think you can do to be effective to help this effort. Don, did you want to say something?
Yeah, a while back, I emailed Governor Hochul's office and, it took about a month for me to get a reply, which seems to be about normal for the state, but, I got a lot of double talk from the Region 5 manager, a regional director, saying that they don't know if it's gonna be closed or open yet, but it might, that's all they said. And today, well, another month ago, I called up the director of operations for the campsites. This guy is in charge of all 52 campsites in the state. And I had asked him for percentages of occupancy by month. And he said he would do that. A very nice guy. I can't remember his name, but I never got anything back. So today I called him again. And he was trying to get the information to me, but he got told that any ongoing conversations on this will be handled through the Region 5 director. He said,
There you
I
have it.
basically got a slap on the wrist for trying to help out with it, so
There you
I
have it.
can't tell you anything.
Yep.
This is at the highest levels.
Yeah.
And I cannot I mean, I'm a good government fiscal conservative, so if they would come out and show numbers, and then the shutdowns of various state campsites within and outside the Adirondacks, that would help save money, I think we could at least have a conversation. But when you can't get the numbers, the usage numbers from them, and we have some unofficial numbers from people who have worked in these positions, it's terrible to feel like at local level, we know we get this from Washington, it's just terrible to feel that the local electeds, the local people, the merchants, the civic groups are given such BS and expect us to just, oh, well, that makes sense, or it doesn't. It just doesn't make sense. Including some numbers that we feel, again, they're not official, would be indicative of fall being very strong for at least one of these sites. I just, you feel like you're pushing a rock uphill while you watch monies being spent, which I've certainly been a proponent of, for more I Love New York, more things out of Rochelle's office and so on, that get the drum beat and to have folks come here. Our chambers, our civic groups, everybody who's anybody who has a letterhead, if you can just keep pounding on this until we at least get someone in front of a camera. Anyone who knows any of these investigative reporters from the various Albany stations, well, we could line them up, couldn't we, for interviews for
Boy, wouldn't that be
how
something?
that would
And I think
impact.
Channel 6 would do it.
I kind of do too, the Greg Floyd or someone, but just to have them say in plain English how this affects our local commerce and the tremendous cascading that comes from having something else. We don't have enough rooms, we have a few Airbnbs, we've got a few lodges and motels. This is a very important feature, and I think we all need to remember, there's a fear that this is not the end, this is the beginning of what will be, how much stuff they can cram to you and go on. Well, you know, these are some of the most beautiful spaces in the state, owned by the state, and supposedly pushed by the state for our citizens and visitors to come to. Here in the Adirondack Park, we're like that extra national park that's touted this way. Well, you can't do that and close during the most beautiful season. You just can't. So, like Betsy said, keep it up.
Yeah, just keep
fighting.
fighting the fight. We can't give up. We
Yeah.
have to really be consistent and persistent with this.
Yeah. Well, since-
Absolutely.
Since this guy couldn't give me the answer and he got slapped, I'm gonna ask for the same thing from Region 5.
Sure,
See what happens.
in writing,
Yeah.
in writing. That would be great, Don.
Okay, so next we have the chamber presidents, Marty Zestro, if you'd like to come up, and Tracy, if you'd like to come up and kind of chat and let everybody know what the chamber's up to and what's going on.
No, you go. Okay, she lets me be the mouthpiece. So I just want to introduce myself. I'm Marty Zegstro. Most of you in the room I know, but a handful of you I don't. My husband is the operations manager at Camp Howler, so that's what brought us to this area, and I have a little baby postage stamp hair salon over there. So Tracy and I are the current co-presidents of the chamber. I don't know if many of you know this, but the chamber has more or less there's a completely new board. We only have one board member that's residual, and the rest of us are all new. And we have had a new director who also is going to be moving on. This is Caitlin. So there's a lot of new happening, and so our first priority has been a lot of research, as none of us have had a background in this office. So we've been researching bylaws and looking at past budgets, looking at past events, things that have worked, things that haven't worked. This last year, as in any area, because of COVID, things are going backwards. And so just trying to reinvent ourselves while still honoring what's been done in the past. So we've been trying to recapture why was the office started, what was the vision of the office, and then also I think trying to educate the board and eventually our members, what is a chamber? I think a lot of people in town don't even really know what a chamber of commerce is. if you talk to most people in town, it seems they think we're a tourism office, which we really aren't. So just that's kind of been what we've been working on right now, so that we have this good foundational base. And in doing so, I think what we really realized is that we have this very vague contract with the towns, which we talked about at our last meeting. Essentially, we have 3 towns that are in contract with us that have the same contract with 3 different dollar amounts. So our next goal, which we're almost finished with, is to reinvent those contracts in a way that are measurable, so that then they're also achievable, so that the towns know what it is that they're getting with their money. Then you can make a decision if you want to continue to work with the chamber. So one of the things we're trying to really define is this idea that the chamber is a nonprofit that is really owned by the chamber members. And then we have the town over here. And then in between those two, I kind of picture it like, here's one house with a yard, and here's another house with a yard. And in the middle, we have this thoroughfare where visitors come through our town, right? And so in this area, in the middle, we both have a stake in contacting these people that come through our area. Us as a chamber, because we are trying to promote business. You as a town, because you're trying to promote tourism. And so in this area between our 2 houses, we have this neutral ground where we both want to build something, and that something, which is mutually beneficial, is a visitor center. And so that's really what we're working on right now, is contracts for our visitor center, revisiting what we're offering our chamber members, eventually hoping to have a product that you all can say, we want this or we don't want this, because neither of us are married to each other. We're both individual entities that have the decision whether or not we want to be in this relationship or not. But it is very mutually beneficial, I believe, that we're in that. And then we did some research with Rochelle and her office to kind of see where there's redundancies in tourism and in the chamber office, and if we can clean up some of that and make it more efficient. So I just think over time and through COVID, what's kind of happened is the chamber is less soluble than it used to be. And we're doing a lot of events that either don't benefit the chamber members or cost the chamber money. So we only have so much manpower and so much of a budget as current to accomplish things. So I think next step, once we get contracts done, and figure out what we're doing with the director. So we have to kind of figure all of that out, because we have new events coming, which you guys have probably heard of, that there's some new events coming this summer. So Bear and Wine is happening this summer. Are we,
I
and
do
she's
have an
already,
update on that.
Yeah.
So we have invited over 200 vendors already. We've already had 20 of them send back their applications. I think we're a really good start. This week is going to be Fire Tower Festival. We're going to basically take the same list, re-invite them, add a little bit more, more educators, and we're going to have the fire departments involved as well. So I think we're a really good start.
and so our hope is, instead of having events that are tourism driven events, we're hoping to have business driven events, because that's more our wheelhouse. So anytime that we're doing an event, our third leg would be our businesses, so having our businesses partner with us to actually put on the event, so they're more business driven. Because that's gonna be our lane, is building business in town and hopefully drawing business in town and retaining business in town. So that brings us to our second, so we're going to be boosting fundraising events. Things from now on are gonna have a litmus. They have to make the chamber money, so the chamber can do what the chamber is hired to do. They also have to benefit local businesses and or benefit the visitor center. And if they don't do those things until we're a more robust office with more man hours, we'll probably set it aside for now. Activities that especially eat up our director's time, our employees' time, that don't fit one of those litmus that I was just listing, one of those roles that we should be playing, we're gonna set aside until we can rebuild the office. And so more fundraising events to come, more business driven events, but also for us, I think what we really felt is that we're very lean on the business promoting side of our calling. So there's so much more, and I'm sure a lot of you have worked with chambers in the past, that chambers traditionally do education. They connect businesses with a small business association and with grants. There's so many things that we can do as a chamber to help businesses evaluate what they're offering, evaluating what the demographic of the region is so that they can meet that demographic, helping businesses to know how can we reach local while also reaching this new demographic of people. So that's really where, as a chamber, we are hoping to grow to support local businesses because that is really our lane. So, yeah, so that's kind of gives you guys a little bit of an idea of what we're hoping to do. It's gonna be slow because we're all new and there's gonna be more new coming on. We have to really revisit our budget. I think Tracy and I we're just so on the same page all the time. I really love working with her. We really want to be able to have, to afford to have employees of the chamber that can make a livable wage and have benefits. We want to see, for everyone that's on the new chamber board, we want to put forth a culture of cooperation and communication and boundaries. I think we want to say goodbye to petty fighting and jealousy, and one of the reasons that boundaries is so important is when everybody knows what to expect, it clears that sort of petri dish of confusion and mistrust. And so that's our biggest foundational priority, is just to create a safe environment where communication is really open between the different entities, but where the entities are separate. So that's kind of our goal. Did you guys have any questions about any of that? That was kind of a lot.
Sure. A lot of questions.
Yeah,
Well, you know, I've been involved with the chamber for over 40 years.
yeah,
President for about 6 of those. It is the most frustrating amalgam. It is not a chamber in the sense that a chamber is ruled by business association rules. That since the more funding comes from others than from your businesses, it's not really in that silo.
but
And
it should be. That.
I'm
that's
not
where
disagreeing, and let me
Yeah.
start first, I jumped in too quickly. I don't know you, and
Yeah.
you sound wonderful, but I appreciate and thank both of you for stepping into this role, or morass, whatever it might be. Yeah, sometimes it slips out. But I say this because some of these goals have been long stated goals. They've just been difficult. Now, going on to boundaries, I don't know what that comment means. If it means cutting some of the towns out of the logo that are not cooperating, does it mean municipalities that are not paying in for representation as a tourism office? Because that's the amalgam. It's a group of hopefully profitable, but businesses paying the lowest chamber dues in the state here, and then the municipalities who have been led to believe that we can do both, we the chamber. And I've been on the negotiation side of both of these.
Right.
I have been pounding table just like this, where Mickey O'Rourke had veins coming out, telling him what he needed to do for the chamber. And then I have been at that table where I've had others from chambers, when I was supervisor, with the same sort of battle, where, well, I'm sorry, you want 50,000, we can only give you 40,000 and so on. Well, you don't understand, we have an awful lot of bills.
Yeah.
I get it, it's just at what point is that the friction spot between the chamber, which we've always called it, and it's always been chamber driven.
Yeah.
None of these municipalities have asked to have an elected official from one of those to sit in with a voting presence, never. It has always been driven by whomever the 4, 5, or 6 chamber folks have been. And they've all been well-meaning, some of them very effective, but as you say, between sort of a malaise that then was followed by a nationwide, whatever that was.
Yeah.
What has left us with is a very weakened business community. And, well, some of what you're saying is very laudable, and I would try to help any way I could. To voice this, like for instance, where the businesses are the ones who really energize these events.
Yeah.
I can assure you, having had a small business here for a long, long time, 40 years, yeah, I'll come to a meeting, we'll have a dinner thing or whatever. But most of the time when those events are happening, the chance of me or any of my staff or my wife or whatever to go and then it just never worked. So we have an uphill battle here, one that I say is and we need to address it that way.
Yeah.
You have some short-term things, namely replacing who I think is a very capable director with
Yes.
hopefully another very capable
Yes.
director. But beyond that, we do need to energize these businesses. It's probably not the best time to tell them, and by the way, it's too cheap, what we're.
Well,
but
what
yet,
we're
once you
giving them
deliver,
for what
yeah.
they're paying, we need to give them more.
There you go.
That's
When,
it.
Then they'll be willing to
when
pay
we,
more.
as chamber people, can deliver more, I
Yes.
think it's easier to say, look, you were paying $100, we need $250 from you.
Yes.
But we're gonna place our advertising correctly. We're going to really target our events to make sure that you as members and the greater community, because I never saw one that worked for all.
Yeah.
It truly, more people in town is a rising tide.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Some of the things you say, I've certainly heard before, and I'm certainly willing to be energized again.
Yeah.
And I think that you're on at least a,
Well, and like you said, what's
righteous
difficult, I'm gonna use an example that my physical therapist used with me the other day. So I have a problem with my back, I have a deformed spine. And what he said, in order for us to fix this spot, this needs to be fixed. But in order to fix this needs to be fixed. And so we have all of these different teammates, like we're all on this team to try to re-energize this town. And we can't do too much over here or this is gonna fall apart. If we do too much here, then this falls apart. We have all of these aspects, of housing and not anyone to hire and all of that. And so we don't wanna do anything too robust or too fast.
not too fast.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and so we are very aware of that in this office, and another thing I think that we've been aware of is that in the past, we've done a lot of events that support retail, hotel, and restaurant, but that's a very small percentage of our membership in this town, and it's only a small percentage of the revenue of things that happen in this community. And so, no solutions, but definitely ideas churning about how can we reach all of the members within the chamber somehow. So we're also gonna be starting a business after hours. I'm not sure when we're gonna roll that out yet, so we're gonna talk about that at our next meeting. So I don't know if any of you have attended business after hours before, but it's essentially just get-togethers of chamber members. It's nothing official. We're not putting anything on. Businesses host it themselves. They decide what their business after hours looks like. So if it looks like cocktails, they do cocktails. If it looks like a tour, they do a tour and they choose. And then as people can come, that builds relations, it builds camaraderie, hopefully teamwork, education. I think one of the things that I've learned in this town that's so fascinating to me in the salon is that as small as we are, a lot of people don't know each other.
No.
So you have groups of people that know each other really well, but then those groups don't necessarily intersect. And so, if we can get businesses communicating, hopefully, and I also don't want to sound prideful or lofty to think, ideals are just ideals. I mean, look at our founding fathers, they had this beautiful set of ideals, and ever since we've been trying to figure out how do we actually achieve that. So I don't think we're ignorant to think that just because we have ideals that we're necessarily going to achieve them, however, I do think that these are ideals of integrity, and I think that is anytime that you are rebuilding something, that is utmost importance. And so I think unity and communication and boundaries, all those are integral parts of something that functions. Whether we make mistakes in our choices, I think that my goal anyway is not to steer the train or to make decisions about what this town needs, but to keep the chamber on the tracks of integrity and communication. So that's what's most important, I think. and then, not burning bridges. Even if we feel frustrated or unsafe or, pissed off, whatever, that we can't build bridges or burn bridges. It's such a small town and we have to work together. So that's kind of where we're at with more concrete things to come, but, yeah.
And it's as you had said at the last meeting that I had attended at the office there, people being so negative on the chamber. I think once you are able to start turning things slowly around and people see the potential, I think people will look at it differently and start giving the chance and getting more involved.
Yes.
And as I said to you, it's been a slippery slope for 12, 15 years, you know, with people in and out and in and out,
Yeah.
I think people are discouraged. So it sounds like you guys are really trying and hopefully it will work and we can make this be a positive thing.
Yeah.
And one last thing I would ask of you, just so, I think our biggest problem that we have right now is that we inherited, I see as a business person, what would make more sense would be, we create a product, we say this is what that product costs, you say you would like it or you wouldn't. But because we've already inherited a budget from the towns, we don't really have that option. That is what I see happening in future budgets. So for example, let's say we say it costs $50,000 to run a visitor center. I'm just making things up. Who pays what in that? And that discussion has to happen amongst the towns. We are looking at a model for now, because we have the budget we have, you guys have already approved it, of splitting the visitor center primarily between Lake Pleasant and Paseco, because they have the most in the visitor center currently. And then having, because we can't have you all be members, that is something we can look at in the bylaws. We were talking about having a vote. I don't think that's a terrible idea to have town have a membership where there is a certain number of votes on the chamber, but as of right now, bylaws won't allow that. So that was one thing we were originally looking at, trying to capture an equal amount, dollar amount for everybody to have like a promotional fee where we are making sure that we're connecting everybody's communications together, we're putting everybody's stuff on our Facebook page, so that that is consistent across the board, because you all have approved different amounts, so there's no way to really change that at this point, but we can, if you can be patient, I think as we look ahead into future years, we need to together work on how will that be equitable with the towns. Because honestly, Lake Pleasant gets the most benefit from the visitor center because it's in Lake Pleasant, so. It's not going to be perfect.
Can we get 2 more minutes here?
Yeah.
I didn't know how long was slated for this.
Yeah,
But
sorry.
This is such a important topic to me anyway. I'll probably say this at my detriment or I'll regret it later, that's normal. But pretty much any time you have government involved, it's screwed, okay? So we've had government involved in this endeavor for a long time. I went into the county board of supervisors wanting to learn how other towns did it, because we were hitting bumps then, and that's, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago. And they're like Indian Lake, they had a person hired by that town board to do what they do, and they had a chamber. And they were separate things. There was an office of events, I don't know what they call them there, and the chamber. And I don't know where the twain met, but that was one way. Well, every time I talked to the supervisors there, 2 different ones over the time, oh, you don't want to get into this deal. This is just, blah, blah, blah. So nothing is perfect. But what we have here, as I say, is a strange bedfellow of government money that has expectations
Yes.
vis-a-vis the taxpayers. And then a chamber, if it were to operate such as I say, as a chamber, well, the chamber can't stand alone, and yet most of the time these communities have felt that the best way is to have the chamber get better, stronger, faster, and still run this. So that's where it is now. As you say, your bylaws are clear, you're more or less a standard chamber with some non-standard contract players.
Yep.
And I, for one, would be very patient to see things progress, keeping in mind you brought up some petty, whatever, and I won't go into who those people or communities
doesn't matter.
are. Well, it does if you've got the bite marks, but that said, if you have one community that pays very little, one community that pays a little, one community that pays quite a bit more, one community that should be being represented there that pays nothing.
Not.
And we'll tell you and I've been on some of those emissaries, listen to your pitch and say, no, we don't need that. Look right at you and say, we don't need commerce in our community. It really isn't a snappy answer for that sort of thing. But this is where we are. And if you want to do a prorated thing or whatever, and I don't think we mind even being the leaders in paying, as long as we feel like we're listened to.
Yeah.
And that there's, I won't use equity, that's a terrible today word, but that there's some sort of honest integrity about where we're going. I wouldn't take too many events until we have a couple of hits, maybe
Yeah.
not home runs, but hits. And I think, you're onto something here, that we can do that.
Yeah. One last thing that is gonna sound offensive, but I think is important, is that we intend to take the steering wheel back at the chamber.
Good?
We are in charge of the chamber, our members are in charge of the chamber. We feel we're not a town, we don't belong to the town. So that's where we really want to make clear, this is what the town is paying for, and this is where you have a say. And this is what our members are paying for, and this is where they have a say. And some of that overlaps, but a lot of it doesn't.
Some of your early discussions here, and I'm not holding you to any of this, but
Yeah,
you mentioned boundaries again. Are there thoughts of changing the boundaries of service?
yes.
Okay?
I would personally, so I've been working on the contract to bring it to the board for voting, to then bring it to you guys. I am really looking at changing language in that contract. So right now we have a lot of tourism language in the contract, and right now, as the contract states, you guys think you're paying us to do chamber business. I would like to take that completely out of the contract, because the chamber business we are doing for our members.
Yeah, no, I think
And so
what we think would
that's
be
where it
tourism.
gets like.
Tourism is
Right.
The wording is actually that you are basically the contract office of tourism, not
Except
not
that
chamber
that's
business.
another thing you guys have, there is a tourism office. I would argue that we're a visitor center.
You mean a county
But
tourism
that's,
office,
yeah.
Yes,
county.
yes, however,
which is what Wells will tell you right now, we don't deal with that. We'll deal with the
Yeah.
county, and we will not self-direct ourselves in any way of commerce. That would have frustrated me had I had my business there, but
Right.
seems to be
Right.
their overall choice, because they've had that direction for
but the
number of
idea
years.
being that if a business there still wants to connect with the chamber, that business still can connect with the chamber, and whether the town gets involved or not really doesn't affect them that
No,
much.
that's up to you.
And so if we clear that up, where you're not hiring us to be a chamber, why would you hire us to be a chamber when our businesses have hired us to be a chamber? That's you hiring us to do what we do in our yard, right? Getting back to that picture, why would you hire me to cut my grass? That's ridiculous, right?
A stretch, but.
Right, right? My yard is to meet my business members' needs.
How many chamber members have you got currently?
Not a lot, however, this office hasn't run on events that pay for themselves, so that's where everything has to change.
Right, but
So-
would you say less than 50?
No,
No,
more than
we're over
100.
Okay. One of the things that I think I missed in my many years on the board and in running a business and trying to, was that tourism or visitors with money in their pocket wanting to visit this little region. That was the ultimate goal. What I missed was that a great deal of our members then, which were more than the members are now, were not-for-profit. And that's a strange mix, again, that you
Yes.
don't find in
It's a strange town.
Exactly, but I mean, if you go to the greater Plattsburgh, Champlain regions of chambers I've worked with, or the Fulton Montgomery, no, they have a lot of doctors' offices and this and that pay their dues and don't really care, but they have all sorts of, fabricating places and so on. But you don't have the biggest members, I mean, Camp Fowler's, not-for-profit.
Right,
Camp of the Woods, and we can go on, right? Deerfoot. you can have them join and pay the going rate and so on, but it's gonna be your job, and I think you've delineated it, to sort of self-describe what then really does well by your membership.
Yes.
Which is, it could be at odds with us, quite frankly.
Well, and that's
Okay.
the dance, I think, that if
That's
we
right.
can be patient with each other and communicate, that we
Exactly.
might have to do.
Right, and I'm.
Because we
hope we will.
ultimately need to get to something that works for everybody. And in my vision, again, this might be lofty, in my vision, we raise enough money to do our own thing over here. I don't see that you should supplement what we do for our own businesses.
Love to see.
In the ideal world, right? However, if you want to share in what we're planting here, you have to pay for that. Does that make sense?
Which is the visitor
Visitor
center that's over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, are we talking about an amorphous structure, what you have now, a new building, 2 new buildings?
No.
I'm a little unclear there.
No, same spot for now. Well, and here's the other thing, that I think we're aware that you guys don't have to be, you don't have to take that contract. You don't have to, if we say, we're doing a visitor center for you, we're not doing everything else that you think that is in that contract. We're doing that for our businesses. Essentially, we're doing the same thing. We just don't want your lawnmower in our yard. That's it. Right?
Want you to take control of
Yes,
the
right.
steering wheel and bring results.
Yes, so that's the goal. However, can we do that without your guys' money this year? That's the question, right?
Not this year.
Probably not.
That's a no, yeah.
But we can also revisit that next year.
Happy to do it, right?
So, question for you,
Yes.
Marty. The farmer's market, you'll still be doing the farmer's market this summer, am I correct?
Yes.
Someone will be doing the farmer's market this year for sure, but we're trying to get someone to do it with us.
Okay,
Like Cornell Cooperative.
We're trying to talk to
arrange
Cornell
something.
right now to see if they'll cooperate with us, because it's very time consuming. And it's kind of outside of our wheelhouse, right? So there's one of those things where it really doesn't benefit local businesses that much. It's more of a town event, but we also don't have any intention of dropping anything and not having anyone take it. Does that
but
make
I just
sense?
feel like it brings so many people into the community that not only are they going to the farmer's market, but then they're also stopping in Charlie John's or
Hopefully.
Tracy's and
Hopefully
so the businesses are going to benefit
Yes.
from that.
Yes. But what we're not going to do is have our director use all her hours all summer long to do to do the farmer's market. So we're trying to find partners so that we're not using all of our director's time. So there is no intention to leave
Okay.
the
Okay,
farmer's
and the other
market
thing
in
was the Community Pride Day now, Steve Stefano was just doing that with this Wells School, am I correct? And so,
Steve did kind of go running a little bit there, so, Camp Fowler was looking to take it on.
okay,
And so we were trying to find out what it would take to do it, and Camp Fowler was just gonna do it. So the chamber decided they weren't gonna do Community Day, but we were gonna find someone to take
Okay.
it. Camp Fowler was gonna take it, Steve ran with it for some reason and decided he wanted to take it, for the chamber, and then we said, no, the chamber's not doing it, so if you're taking it, you have to take it on your own. So
Okay.
I'm not really sure what's going on with that. We need to reconnect with Steve, because
Well,
I
you
thought
have a-
Steve was doing it with Camp Fowler, and Steve said today he's doing it with Wells Central
school, that's
So-
what I thought.
That's his home base, that's the way
Yeah,
it
so I
usually
need to
works.
reconnect with him, he was a little rogue on that one.
Okay, he did call last week and kind of alluded to that, but I wasn't quite sure if it was actually the final plan or not.
Well, we have
Am I
several
Neither do
one?
we, so
Yeah,
one of the things
okay.
we're also really trying to push in our office is this idea that nobody can make a decision on their own. If you're doing something, like what you were doing, reconnaissance for the camp thing, if you wanna do reconnaissance and bring information back to the
Right,
group, great, but don't go rogue, don't do your own thing. Like,
Mm-hmm,
I'm not in charge, I'm just keeping us on track. Everybody's in charge, so.
Okay.
so I have one
So
more
I don't really
question.
know on that, unfortunately.
Has anybody reached out to Wells to see if they're going to jump on board as far as?
Once we have contracts in place of what we are doing for this year, we will reach out to
Okay,
Wells.
okay,
It's gonna be a hard sell, I think, to say, come on to the visitor center at this point, but we might be able to sell them on the idea of doing
Okay.
what Morehouse just pays this little tiny amount.
Stipend,
Yeah, the stipend, so we're wanting to match that stipend to this kind of, service of really connection and communication. I'm not really sure what we're gonna call it yet. I originally wanted to see it as like a town membership, but since we can't do that
Okay.
according to bylaws.
Okay. Is anybody else on the board have any questions, any concerns, anything?
Not operations, but, all the business of it, but has the chamber ever got into contact with DEC about these campsite closures and stuff, or is that not part of the
I have been writing
chamber?
them, I did do the writing, we've been doing a lot in our office, we've done a lot of prints, a lot of letters, we've been sharing it on social media. Pretty much it's just been a waiting game to see if there's been any updates, we haven't heard any updates of any progress or
Yeah.
anything of that nature, but I am willing to reach out, I do have a lot of like Facebook contacts where I do have a friend that works for the news station, I am more than willing to try, so.
Please.
That would be
I know how to use
great.
Facebook, so I'm gonna try
Absolutely.
with that. So who
All I
do
can
you
do is
think
say no.
would direct him?
Absolutely.
You know, the reality is, our shoulder seasons, we have to find a way to,
There you go.
push into shoulder seasons, and we can't just constantly be doing more in the summer.
Right.
Because we're pretty much maxed out in the summer, businesses don't have the
Everybody
employees,
is.
And
businesses
it's-
don't have the space in the restaurants.
It's 10
And so,
weeks.
unless
Isn't
we
enough.
have things pushing into those other periods of time, we're never gonna do better.
Right, right.
So they're cutting us off by
Big time.
doing that.
So is that it, Don, or did you have anything else?
Well, I just wanted to mention that Ruth, with that shoulder season's out, there's more visitors coming in the fall now, actually, than in the summer.
Yeah.
And I think we need to make DEC aware of that.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I really cited in my letter, is that people are coming into my office in the fall asking where they can get a campground. I can't get a camping reservation, I can't do this.
Right.
It's maxed out, so I don't understand why they're saying that we don't have enough, when I literally have people in my office begging for a place to stay for that night.
Two of the most important places for a 30-foot are the Moffitt's and Louis. It doesn't bear up.
People are trying to bring their campers into Perkins and stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah, good luck.
Okay.
So the
Kathy,
answers I had
Kathy,
were staffing, resources, occupancy, and budget review. But I would think with budget, to me, staffing resources are the only thing that could be a limiting factor.
Yeah.
Budget.
For everyone.
Budget, it's a state-run organization, people do pay to camp, so it's not like it's free.
Right.
Okay, moving on. Kathy, is any questions, any concerns?
No, I'm absorbing at this point and
Okay.
mulling and.
Sorry, it's a bit of a
Okay,
tsunami.
Rochelle?
No.
Michelle, no? Okay, at this point, I'm actually gonna open it up. If anybody has a question, does
Good.
anybody wanna add to it? Give you like 2 minutes a person? Anybody?
So I do just want to give you guys a promise that I'm not just gonna be like leaving, I will have everything all set up, so while the chamber is ever changing right now, we are setting it up to be bigger and better. I really think I'm gonna set up all of our businesses, they're all in our social media, I'm opening up social media Thursdays. So before I leave, I will make sure that this town is modernized, I promise guys.
Anybody else, before we move on? Okay, thank you, ladies,
Thank you.
Thank
and
you, very
please keep
informative.
us in the loop.
Thank you.
You know, and as time goes on,
Yeah.
give a holler and we'll get you back on the agenda.
Yeah.
Get some progress reports would be
Sounds good.
great, okay? Thank you.
And I'm running away, I apologize.
That's okay,
No, it's fine.
that's okay. Okay, next, I just want to mention the property tax exemption for the ambulance corps. At the last meeting, the board approved to pass a local law for the volunteers of the Speculator Volunteer Ambulance Corps, which would be a 10% tax exemption for members that have given 2 years of service and provide a certification from the ambulance corps stating that the member is active and remains in good standing for each year. We have started the process of the permissive referendum. We have advertised in the Hamilton County News, and now the taxpayers have 45 days to file a petition in the town clerk's office. If no petitions are filed, then the next step would be the public hearing. Anybody have any questions on that? Just wanted to give you an update that this is where we're at.
I think I know the answer, but I would like to just question this. A lot of people, apparently people over 65, recently got a letter apprising you of the fact that the seniors get this, that, the other thing. I threw it in the garbage because while I'm poor, I make more than $17 a week. I mean, it was.
It was
the-
ridiculous, the
right,
amount.
The standards that they were putting
$20-some
to give you the
thousand.
10% was ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is not applicable, the income part is not applicable to
No,
this
that's-
law,
no,
right?
right,
All right,
right.
I've had a couple of people ask me, and
Yes.
it sort of put a light bulb on.
Yeah, now, we are not sure if you have the star exemption,
Right,
if they're also going to
top.
allow this on top of.
Right.
That's something that's kind of like another vague thing with the state. So we don't really know, but at this time, we're offering
Has
it.
Barry weighed in on that?
Yeah, we kind of really don't have the answer yet.
Okay.
He's trying, but
Yeah,
we
sure.
haven't yet. So, okay, next I would like to introduce Vicky Bice. Come on up, Vicky. Planning Board recommendation, Chairman Vicky Bice from the Planning Board.
I'm not a girl of many words.
That's great.
We'll start there. The town code enforcement officer received a complaint of the noise from the White House weddings. So we researched it. The zoning regulations don't actually allow for any business there except for a restaurant and a deli. Anywhere in the lakefront zoning district. I found the revised zoning from 2007. We went through and redid the whole zoning. We matched our zoning to match APA and whatever other restrictions we wanted to put on it. It's easy enough to change, because there are other people who wanna maybe start a business at their house. It's a, lakefront property, maybe it's not, but there are people that wanna bring things to the area, to, try and bring in more people, more activities. And the code actually says that we're supposed to review it every few years to make those kinds of changes.
Right.
As our community changes, it wants to change with us. The comprehensive plan, the vision for the town is to bring in more business, more people, to offset our taxes. So you can't do that without sales tax. We have made a recommendation to the board. If you decide you want to change certain areas and allow more things, it's an easy enough fix. You put an X in the box that says other businesses not specifically mentioned here. You put an X in that box, they have to come to the planning board to get approval. We will review each one, merits, all that stuff, either approve it, disapprove it, or approve it with conditions. So if certain people have certain concerns, they can be addressed. But I think bringing business into the area is something that shouldn't be pushed away.
Couldn't agree more.
Just because that's what everybody wants here, is more people coming in, enjoying it, and the wedding venue, I think, is awesome.
Great.
Well, I kind of agree, but one thing the planning board has to realize is that people buy their houses and come to the area because of certain reasons.
Yes, and that's why I live here.
Yeah, and if you're too free with changing the zoning, giving your reasons for changing it, it's going to, the people that have bought the places around the lake or whatever for a certain reason that it's quiet, and they have a lakefront property, and you change it so that's no longer the case. It's the same thing with short-term rentals and all that
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
I
stuff.
listen to them every weekend,
Yeah.
and there's
it's-
nothing I can do about it.
No.
But
it's,
that's part of summer, Yeah,
but-
everybody gets together in one place to have fun, not everybody's gonna be happy.
No, but if you have a wedding venue, beating out music, we know how sound travels across the lake.
Yes, we do. And the county has 11 o'clock quiet hour, they've never gone past that I know of.
It- it-
And
Is there a volume
We have to
control?
be careful.
81 decibels,
81, explain that to me.
yeah, good luck.
I-
It's something where the cops will give you a ticket if your muffler's too loud.
Right.
Okay,
52 decibels is normal
but
conversation.
going across open water,
Oh, yeah,
I mean-
especially at night, because the sound travels twice as far.
you think you're whispering in a canoe out in the middle of the lake, believe me, everybody knows what you just said.
Yeah, there's a rental house
Yeah,
that's a speedboat every weekend. They come over in front of my house, play their music, watch the sunset, blah, blah, blah.
It doesn't bother me, but I've been reading up on some of this, and one of the complaints was this elderly lady in Lake Placid. She saved up all her life to buy a retirement home on the edge of the lake for nice quiet. Well, Lake Placid isn't quiet.
Yeah.
But it was okay for the first few years, and then the short-term rentals came in, and she lost her quiet place in the mountains. Is that fair to her?
I wouldn't try to address this individual taxpayer.
No, it's an example.
Yeah, but also, you know, that same individual taxpayer is free to sell to someone who's, wants to use that same house as a party place. Well, what I'm saying is,
Yeah, no.
what I'm saying is zoning and the use of these things has to be very, just easily drifted into. Because if we start talking about everything that's noisy to Mrs. Murphy's place, we're not gonna have seaplanes anymore.
No, I'm not
We're not
saying
gonna
that.
have, well, I'm just saying, we're not gonna have jet skis. I many years ago was on one of these committees to gather information, and of course, Squeaky Wheels only came to the meeting. It was in this building, but when it was smaller. And, one of them was, you know, pounding, met him today at Billy's thing, pounding on the table about jet skis. They don't belong here, they don't belong here. But he has a quite loud Chris-Craft that does.
Oh,
It's a really slippery slope.
that's not zoning, that is,
Well, it's
Noise
because you
on the
can't
lake.
control it. Here's
Right.
the,
you
exactly,
can
Don.
control this.
So if I have a little quiet place in the back behind the inn, and someone pulls up with a pontoon boat perilously close to my dock, they can play whatever, I don't mind the loud music if they just play my music,
Right.
but it usually isn't. I'm just saying that a lot of these things have to be taken in real careful measure. This particular, and it's never spot zone, this particular property that has spawned this conversation, high time, I think. But this particular property would tick off pretty much any box when it came to the footprint of this property and its attractiveness for this type of event.
Yes.
So I don't think this is a great test case. I think this is a no-brainer. But I will say, all of the other folks who have concerns after they're led to believe about the 11 o'clock, which is countywide, and we've had some big ones, as you know, up North County.
Yeah.
That went on with music festivals and so on, also going all the way down the lake and so on. And one of the cases made by those lawyers was exactly what I'm talking about. So these people can come and tie their 17 party barges together and have this, and we have no control. But we're gonna chase this thing out that is already a proven event.
Yes.
That it's a really hard deal. I will go back 1 second to what you and I spoke of a few years ago, when I was, I think, begging you to take this post. Casting no aspersion, but the town's planning board was under the usual schedule of only meeting when there was a problem.
Right.
I tried to point out to two different chairmen, that's not planning. Okay, could be something, a grievance board, but then planning. Planning boards require that you meet occasionally and
Yes.
update and get
Section
these things.
41.
Of course,
Says periodic review,
and I'm glad that you're open to it.
yes. And it should be done, they say, every 3 years.
That sounds right to me.
So I'm just aware of this now, so,
Yeah.
and we'll get going on that.
Can I just, Tracy is trying to say something.
Well, I just wanted to say, excuse me, in our contract, all music has to be off by 10 o'clock.
Right. And
And so, and I am strict because let me tell you, I wanna get out of there, it's been a long day.
Long day.
So, you know, we have quiet time. The one time that we did get a complaint, we had a band. It was the first time and the only time that we've had a band. And we're not against, okay, if the band was too loud, maybe that's something that we can't offer. You know, I can't, really, the only way we could probably make some of the sound go away would be to put the sides up on the tent. But if we're in the heat of summer, you're gonna roast the guests, you know?
What about,
so-
what the speaker, I mean, are there speakers for DJs?
Sure.
Yes, yes.
Big one.
Where do they point?
There you go.
So every wedding is different because the bride decides where she wants the dance floor and, you know, every bride wants their wedding a little different, so, sometimes the dance floor is in the left-hand corner of the tent and the music is going out towards the lake, and sometimes it's up front, you know what I mean, so it'd be shooting more towards the road.
So it's, I mean, that would.
That's what you would think, if
certainly
it
help.
wasn't facing towards the lake and possibly this way, that could help.
Face up the mountain.
Right,
Going
if I
down
be
the
here
lake.
from my house,
Nobody
I
up
get
there.
my boat and I go over to that lake.
You and everybody else.
I mean, there are many people that do enjoy it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we bring a lot of people into the community. I can
Yeah.
say 90% of our weddings, I think last year I had one local person. All of our other weddings were from out of town. They filled the Airbnbs, the hotels, they ate at the restaurants, they had, you know, rehearsal dinners at the local restaurants.
Correct.
Hired local bartenders.
Yes, yes.
Makeup artists, hair
And these are
So-
situations
so-
that are.
And it's
I did-
wonderful that that property is able to be what that property is.
Yeah.
It's, and because you're becoming more popular and events are becoming more frequent, it's compounding across, I think the whole situation could be alleviated with the direction of the speakers.
Exactly.
And when, if you change the law and put an X in that box, they would, she would come before our board with all this stuff, and we would express our concerns about noise, because we've had complaints, and we'd figure it out before the permit was issued.
So this thing is a
So-
conditional permit.
Yes.
That
And-
each and
in the-
every-
And in the permit, it'll say it can be revoked if these
course.
conditions aren't followed.
It's a conditional permit. The village, the whole village Main Street, in its horrible checkerboard that is the village zoning,
Yeah.
has that. We had, the old Napa used to be a chop shop and banging and this and that, so, when I was on that planning board, like, so we have a commercial zone, but we don't have any hard and fast commercial, because each and every, because we had residential houses sprinkled in between,
Yeah.
every one of them was a conditional permit. And we were able to put in some things at Mountain Market, the old, Don Vogel's, and the old Napa, and several other places that satisfied the people across the street and so on and so on.
Right.
Brought up a lot of cool things. What about deliveries? What time will the big Napa truck, the things you don't think of until the board sits there and cogitates about it.
Right.
It's the way it should be.
And there's, with the communities such as this, where businesses are mixed in with residential areas, I think we all have to get along.
Right. So I just want to say that when the complainant called and I spoke with them, they actually said they don't want to discourage business. They know how important it is. But if we could possibly get a handle on it so that it's not so loud and offensive to them.
Yeah,
So
we can do this.
I
She
think
did
we,
communicate to us. She sent an email to us.
oh, she did,
After
okay.
the fact.
Okay.
And we just said, we really wish you would have come to us.
Sure,
But,
sure,
she
that's
didn't.
okay. So, but, so it's all good, we just want to satisfy everybody
Right.
so that you can continue the business, but yet, so we'll just have to, basically, like you said, it would be a conditional
Yeah.
permit and go from there.
Yeah.
Right, the business should respect its neighbors.
Has to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
And-
mind
Absolutely.
changing this.
People should realize that business has to come up, has to be here.
Right,
Sure.
right.
You know,
We
all
depend
yeah,
on
along
it,
that's-
together,
yes,
if
not
we both
absolutely
have
not.
concessions.
Once again, the commercial zones in the village, and I know this is town book business, but in the village are very odd. So across the street from here, where the old movie theater was,
Yeah.
and all the way down is commercial,
Yes.
on that side of the street. On this side, not. So I ran for over 40 years a business that sometimes had outdoor things and picnics and bands and you name it. That is a non-conforming use. The Inn at Speculator has never had a commercial approval. It's a non-conforming use.
I was under
that
the
works.
impression it was on both sides.
No, either, as you know, the inn is surrounded by residences, some of them rather nice and large. But no, you get somewhere right here,
Pretty sure you were
this
there.
side. Well, a lot of it is that, the building was built in 47, but, so it's grandfathered, you say that, but it's
Pre-existing
existed as
non-conforming.
a non-conforming use. And what you do is, to Don's point, you get along with your neighbors.
Yeah.
Invite them over for the party.
You share your phone number. Can we turn it down?
So, I think after this discussion, on order to change, the status of the property for this, venue, we actually have to pass a local law,
Yeah.
go out to permissive
You have to go through the
referendum.
process.
Right, we have to do the whole process. So tonight, I guess what I'm looking for is a motion to accept the recommendations from the planning board. Did anybody want to move that?
Okay, there'll be discussion afterwards.
Yep.
Okay.
So did someone
Second.
want, who moved it?
I thought Kathy did.
No.
Oh,
had
I
to.
moved it.
I'll second it.
Okay, second by Rochelle. Now discussion.
Okay, so if we go ahead and accept the recommendation, then the White House on the Lake and any other people who have not zoned commercial would have to apply for a special use permit
Yes.
for every event or by season.
Yes.
And if at any point the stipulations aren't met, that permit could then be revoked,
Yes.
no matter how many reservations there are.
Oh, yeah.
That gives them incentive to do what is.
There you go. Bless you.
Okay, so anybody who has a concern about those kinds of things could then contact
Yes.
the zoning board about possible
Variance.
variance.
Yeah, variance is a whole different
Yeah, that's one
animal.
thing, that's for something that's already approved, but you wanna do a little bit more.
Got it, okay. So accept the
Like
recommendation.
you're supposed to be 15 feet from the line, but you only wanna be 10.
And that would involve getting your
That's
neighbors
it.
involved, and that's
It
a
does,
whole different
sure.
thing. So if this is tabled tonight, does that, okay. Okay,
You just keep talking.
I'm thinking this through.
Talk what
It's,
you think.
it's moving really fast, and
Yeah, slow it down. Don't do anything you're not comfortable with. Because the planning board, I'll let my members know that we need to get together and review this. And see if we see any changes. Each one go through it individually and, you know, do you see any problems with this? Do you see any areas we need to change? Because other people talk to business owners and know they wanna try something new,
Sure.
but it's not okay in the book. So there's a few of those we have to address.
Now,
go ahead.
I'm under the impression that when you make a change for the revision like that, in order to allow them to have the thing, it's just the neighbors that get notified of the change and they can object or,
Well, they would be notified that people in that district would be notified who were considering a change.
so that wouldn't just be property owners,
Not the adjacent owners, it would
the
be.
adjacent
Yeah,
owners.
all
be
the
at least
lakefront
the-
owners,
all the
in that,
lakefront
in that area.
In that zone only. Okay,
Well, you can put it out as far as you want.
Yeah.
What you're saying is,
I mean,
here
it's
you,
lakefront residential,
here
so it
you,
goes almost all the way around the lake.
come,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
come forward with your, complaints to be heard.
Yeah, that's good.
as long as people have a chance to make their concerns heard
Yes,
before,
Yeah.
that's where I get caught, is,
and that's why the process is in the book,
That's right.
and it shows you how to do that.
okay, so the process is in the book and,
Everything's followed by a public hearing,
got it.
before anything is finalized.
So if the board accepts this tonight, then we actually have to advertise in the paper, and it goes out to public permissive referendum, and we have to wait 45 days, which gives the public 45 days to go into the town clerk's office to file a petition.
Which says,
Would-
whatever concerns
Whatever
they have.
their concerns are. If that happens, then we actually then have to go to mandatory referendum?
Well, according to the amount of, it can't be just one or two. We've got to go back to
Right.
the planning board. And if this cannot be done to the satisfaction of
Okay, I just wanna
that
make sure
board
that
and this
people-
elected board, then yeah, you could put it out to a true plebiscite, but that's just never done.
No, and I just wanna make sure that everybody has a chance to be heard.
Right.
Yeah.
And this process will allow that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
How do you notify the people?
How do you, how do you
Probably mail.
notify?
Probably mail.
So every lake owner, everybody with lakefront property would be notified of this?
So it wouldn't just be a thing in the Hamilton County News?
Well, I don't know that that's statutory. I mean, you're the chairman, you do whatever you feel is necessary. it's not statutory to have, you know, mail or certified mail. You have to make it in the usual ways that the town puts out its information. The
Okay.
website, the newspaper, the so on. You can go to that extra thing, if, you know, it's a belt and suspenders sort of
Right.
solution if you so, but, I don't want the board to think that that is the norm. It's not.
No,
Not when a.
It's not the norm.
No, when a planning board is
you put it in the
talking
paper, you
about.
post it in your box.
Right.
Yeah, this is, again, this is a conditional
On our
permit,
website.
each
And
one
then you got
will be,
45 days to let everybody else know,
right.
which is why, you know,
Additional permit.
Each one of these would be, again, maybe there's 5 people around our lakes, Second that would like to do, you know, some sort of hog
and,
pulling event.
you
I don't know,
Part of the
but
consideration
whatever
would
it
be
is.
size, do you have enough area for it? Do you
That's
have enough
right.
septic for it? Do you have enough?
Exactly.
All of them.
That's why
So-
those have to be looked at.
So
the
your neighbor who's
individual
got an acre
merits.
and a half can't do it, really do it,
Yeah,
And you
because it's
would,
not,
and each
they
one
won't
would be
sustain
looked
it.
at
Right.
individually by the planning board.
right, and then,
Cool.
and that, as you asked before, if the conditions, the codicils that the planning board puts in your permit are not met, of course, after some negotiation, those things permit could be pulled.
yeah. You know, if your kid wants to get married on your house, great.
Right, and this is a part of why I like always counsel slow,
Yeah.
because I don't wanna hear that I can't have a DJ or a band at my house for some blowout that we have.
Exactly.
No matter
Family
what my
reunion.
parcel is,
Because it's
as
still
long as
your
I stay
property.
within the county
Yeah.
prescriptions, et cetera. We don't wanna be looked at as the iron fist.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but I just, you know, by the same token, everybody has a chance to have their opinions.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Anyone should come to this board and certainly to her board, and I trust the board as it's composed now and this chairperson to do the right thing.
And again, I tend to ask questions when I don't know the answers.
But that's
so-
okay.
That's the best thing to do.
That's good.
And
You should do
so
that.
my questions may not be anything more than me gaining information.
I don't trust lawyers, they're the ones who ask questions they already know the answer to.
Okay, so, again, I'm gonna go back to the recommendations here. Neil, you moved it, Rochelle seconded. Is there any further discussion on this? Okay, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed?
I'm not.
Any-
Any abstentions?
Anybody want to abstain?
I will abstain.
Okay. Okay, so now that we're done with this discussion, I would like to suggest that we form a committee to get together and work on starting to update our zoning because it is so outdated throughout the town that it's easier, Vicky and I and Steve have talked, it's easier to get a committee together and do it all at once because we're gonna have to go through the same process, you know, the permissive referendum and the whole bit, and then it has to go to the Secretary of State. So, and Kathy, don't you dare volunteer for this because
No,
you've got
that's
too
why
many
I'm
committees,
down
you're working
here.
too hard.
I do
But
not
Neil, would
want
you
this.
consider, okay, okay, and then it's up to
something I know a
you
little
to
bit
go ahead and I know you've done it before, so
Well,
that's
I
why.
know a little bit
kinda-
about this.
Okay, perfect. And then you'll kind of reach out to a few people, get a nice
I
different
haven't,
group,
I haven't
not
been,
here.
you know, it would help if one of us had been this going thing in the city in a couple of weeks. Those things, they have really good intense workshops about updating your stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I haven't been to one in some time, and maybe we can find, you work with Steve, have you worked with Steve at all, in the county, at the
A
town?
little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
But I was on the board that did the last changes.
that's right, yeah.
So, but that was 25 years ago. So there are certainly things in there that need to be
I
changed.
know, hard to
Yeah.
believe, huh?
Yeah,
I haven't gotten any older, but apparently it was 25 years.
it's a thick air and a thin ways to go for some of us.
So would you be willing to sit on that committee with Neil, or would you rather not?
Sure.
I think it would be, yeah. Okay, perfect, so you've got a good start. Thank you all for that,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank
for your
you.
confidence.
Thank you for all of
okay?
You know
Thank
that.
you very much, Vic.
Answers to my questions.
Okay, so next we have is the Lake Pleasant Fire Department contract. As I said to you all, the only changes in this contract is the date and the dollar amount. which last year, the last 2 years was $159,000. It will now, for this 2-year contract, it will be $170,000, and we have budgeted for that. We pre-budgeted for that. So I'm looking for a motion. Okay, a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Budgeted, it's
Thank
good.
you, Vicki.
Thanks, Vic.
Thanks, Viv.
Thank you.
Bye, Vic, thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay,
I'm abstaining.
Thank you.
you're gonna abstain? Oh, Don.
Fireman.
He's got-
It's the best deal we could get,
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Kathy.
right?
Okay. Next is the Town of Lake Pleasant Financial Services Intermunicipal Agreement. That is with the county. Last year it was $13,500. It's a 1-year contract. It went up $1,350 this year. It's $14,850, but they are doing more. They're doing a lot more with the deferred comp, the retirement, and also the health insurance. They've been working with Steph, helping her with the health insurance. So I'm looking for a motion,
I so move.
And I'll
a second.
Gladly.
Any further discussion?
It's the best service that we receive.
They're phenomenal.
For that money.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, one more contract. This is for the 2023 meal site agreement. We had discussed increasing the budget back last year, which it was $5,000, and to help defray the costs for the senior meal site, this year we have increased it to $5,500. We did budget for that, so I'm looking for a motion
I'll move.
to sign that contract. Don?
Second.
Okay, Kathy? Any further discussion?
Is it a 1-year contract?
It's a 1-year contract. Yep. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that was easy. Okay. Next is a resolution for our annual audit for the town justices. And this is just something we do every year. Did everybody have a chance to look over it? We left it on the table. Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to accept. Okay, a second?
Second.
Neil? Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Good luck to the new judge.
Yeah, great job. Okay, okay. So next, I'd like to introduce Karen.
Last but not least.
You got on before public comment.
Sorry.
Number 6. Well, anyway, this is not gonna cost you any money. And it's strictly, I'm going to turn it over to Sherry in a minute because she has more of a history on it. But after speaking with Sherry, our director, and with Stephanie as well, I think this is more of a courtesy informational presentation for the board to allow for a credit card in the name of the town of Lake Pleasant that's going to be used strictly by one particular purchase of the library. And I don't want to speak erroneously or have anything wrong, so I'm going to turn it over to Sherry as to why we think this is important, but it does come out of our library budget, every penny of it, so there's no cost to the town other than what you have appropriated in our library budget. So I'm going to turn it over to Sherry, and again, it's because when I talked to Stephanie, we weren't really sure because I don't know if this has ever been done before. So if she wanted to proceed correctly, I think it's something certainly within the realm of her
Well, it's gonna
authority
be
to do.
under the umbrella of the
Yes,
town.
yeah, let's have
so-
Sherry go through as to why this is even a feasible and a good deal.
You've got the
for
floor,
us.
Sherry.
Let's see, almost a decade ago now, when I started here, the library was buying their collection from publishing houses. Publishing houses charge us twice as much as Amazon does. And we did not have a very big budget. So Amazon afforded us the ability to get free shipping, which is how it started. And then it morphed into Amazon Smile, which gave us 45-day terms and the free shipping. And what else did it give us?
Donation.
Well, the pricing. So anyway, in January, what happened was Amazon Smile disconnected or severed its relationship with Synchrony Bank. Synchrony Bank was the one that was doing the billing, so when I got the bills, I could see a list of everything we purchased, line by line. So now that that relationship has been severed, they've bought in American Express. So I went to look at that, and what happened when I went to the website is they wanted all my personal information. And I just can't do that. But on the other hand, shipping, like last year, shipping was over $450 if we had to have paid for it. We had free shipping. So now that it's called Business Prime, and you have to go through American Express. So with American Express, the only thing we're going to get out of it is free shipping. The fee that they'll charge us is $179 a year, which is far better than, I can't imagine what the shipping's gonna be this year because everything keeps going up. So this is why I'm looking at getting that American Express card just for the library, just so that we can avoid all those shipping charges. So,
Sherry, do you have a card now at all?
no, we have a Bank of America card.
You do, okay, that's what I
Yeah,
thought,
but,
okay,
and we use that for anything that's outside of Amazon.
right.
So I'm just looking to get that card so that we can avoid the shipping charges.
But the card's in your name.
Yeah, it's, well,
It's a
so it's
town
Bank
card,
of
The
America.
yeah.
card
cards.
has to be in the,
Of course.
because
Yeah.
otherwise she's not gonna put her
Right.
personal.
No.
Well, you wouldn't want to because of the tax thing too, right? By
Exactly,
having it the
yeah.
town there, you file the same time you file with the
But-
tax
But
exempt.
I didn't want, it's like when Sherry first presented me with this, I said, well, the town board should know because I don't want them to see a bill coming through.
Right.
That says.
Each year.
Right, that has American Express.
Mm-hmm.
And they're gonna say, what is this American Express bill? Why do we have an American Express card?
So Sherry, it's still gonna work the same way as your other credit card. You'll be getting the bills, you'll be doing the vouchers, and you'll be, and it won't come through town hall where we have to
I'm assuming that it will
decipher.
work the same way it did with Synchrony Bank.
Okay.
So like Randy, who does sometimes, maybe we could split that cost, that $179 for when you order, because that is the $179 level, you can have up to 3 people on the card. So, and then there's another level that's like $500 a year, and that allows up to 10 people on the card. So, but I'm just looking to get that free shipping.
But Randy, don't you get free shipping?
I'm not, almost 99% of it. Like today, I ordered some from Amazon today, and made a note of it to myself today. I ordered time cards, simple thing of 1,000 time cards, okay, for the year or whatever. And it said free shipping, it took 3 days longer to get if I went, or it was $5.99 for shipping. So I clicked the free shipping.
Sure.
When I got the email from them, it stated, if you have forgotten anything on this order, you still have free shipping for another 24-hour period on anything that goes to that address. So that's how I'm starting to figure out why I'm getting,
Right.
if I click on one thing and I get free shipping for that, I have a 24-hour period that comes to that,
Yeah.
everything else I ordered.
And-
So that's how, I think that's how I'm getting all of this.
They're giving you options on shipping now.
Yes.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And they're, you know, because the town is doing, because that's what just like my Bank of America card like she has,
Yeah.
says Town of Lake Pleasant, and then it just has my name underneath it.
Right.
And that's what's in my account at Amazon. That's in there so much that they're giving us
Free
free
shipping.
shipping.
Because
Okay.
you use it that often.
Okay,
Right.
so it's
And
not an
You're
issue.
not paying for a Prime
My
account?
No.
address, shipping address, the town there, my card that I have, all these things have to click together in order
Sure.
to qualify for
Yeah,
that.
the town is the account, you are the purchasing agent.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what she's going to do with this American Express thing,
Right.
it's gonna be the same.
Well, it's
From
not
you to
for-
separate.
I don't seem to be
I
able
really
to order like you do, and that's probably because of the weight of the books.
Right.
The books are very heavy.
But Stephanie has to apply for this card.
Yes.
So that
Right.
was a question that we had. Sherry cannot, they were told she's not an authorized agent to apply for this card. Stephanie has to apply for it.
Right, I agree with you,
So
Karen.
going back for informational courtesy to.
This is
now,
information for us. I
I
mean,
want you to know.
you think
why
this is gonna be a net savings, why wouldn't we do
Yeah,
it?
I mean, 180 versus, you
Yeah.
know, probably 550 this year.
How much does your Amazon Prime business cost per year?
$4.99.
$4.99?
Jeez.
Stephanie and I looked it up for the town.
That's for business.
For
right?
business.
Yeah,
For
it was,
business.
it was.
But
But the
$4.99.
179,
I pay 179.
there's a 179 option for business.
Okay, 'cause that's what I pay.
Does that limit-
Well, her and I
that's-
looked
How
at-
will we can't.
You're
Figure out
talking
the
about
phone
the
with the first-
card fee, they're talking about the Amazon Prime fee,
Right.
right,
Right.
to
It's
use
a
We're
difference.
Amazon.
talking
Well,
about the
I pay
business.
179 a month for Amazon, or a year for Amazon.
We're talking about the business, to have
Yeah,
us all
it must be
under the
more, right.
business.
Right.
If you go to amazon.com/business prime, I believe is how it's worded, and you look at that form and it tells you what you get, there's a little tab in front of the $4.99 fee. If you click on that, it moves over. $79 for a business is one use person, but it doesn't get free shipping. The next one over is essentials. That's the $179, that's up to 3 people. And then, would be the county or municipal, but that's X amount of employees.
Sure.
So,
But if you have
That's
three
what I'm
people,
looking
why
at.
aren't you
Yeah.
paying the 179 then?
I think we're confused what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
You're talking about the American Express
No,
card.
no, no. Amazon
no, this is
Prime.
business prime.
That's what I
Business
said.
Prime.
Why are you
When-
paying so much
But
money?
where's the
When
400?
Stephanie and I called it, and we actually spoke to somebody, and this gentleman went through it step by step by step, and already with that tax exempt and all this stuff added up, you know,
And the
do
free
what we were
shipping.
doing. And it had 3, we wanted 1, 2, 3 cards on it. That had separate billing
Yeah.
for everything, you know,
Yeah.
you clicked on with your password, and you did your own thing, and you got your own bills and everything like that. It came down to $4.99.99.
Okay, so
So
they were paying you, they were charging you for those extra services then?
Right.
Yes, so,
And it-
So
in
the
order to
library
have
already
it-
has a town card through, the library already has their Amazon card through the town trio.
No Amazon.
The, Amazon account.
Bank of America.
Bank of America.
They're one of the 3 people.
Yes.
Okay,
Those are 2 different things, Kathy.
I understand they're 2 different things, I thought we were still
Yeah.
talking about Amazon. So, Bank of America card, so, does the town have this Amazon account that Sherry wants?
Yes, she's in it. We're all
Okay.
linked together on a.
She's a user on the account, she
User
just needs
on
a
the account.
credit card to
We
pay for
But she
the
needs a
bills.
credit card to pay
To pay the
for it,
bills.
that's not in her personal name. She needs a town
So we're
card.
just putting her on the town's $4.99?
No,
It's
there's
also for
no,
your free shipping.
we don't have
for your
Amazon
small
Prime, we
orders,
have Amazon,
right?
because we don't wanna pay the $4.99.
Good, but that has 3 cards, right?
There's no cards.
No.
Okay,
No
so
cards.
just the town, so because the library is part of the town,
And they want free shipping.
shipping, which you guys
That's
don't
the
get,
key.
got it,
I get 99% of it, free shipping.
but you can't
Like
give
case by
the-
case sort of.
Volumes and the lightweight, this, that, every,
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason.
Got it, that makes sense.
They're in a different world of what
And-
they wanna do.
So it's the shipping issue
It's
that's,
the shipping issue that stops with all these books.
got it,
And we recently had an order where Steve needed to order something very small, it was like a $3 and some change item, and we just tacked it on with Randy's order
course.
in the back
Right.
instead of
absolutely.
extra shipping.
And that's easy enough for one thing to separate out on a bill. Where if we put ours together, she sees how many packages we get. It'd be a nightmare to get that bank card.
We have a lot of books.
Loses all this,
Oh, yeah.
it'd be pages every month.
Yeah. Then you've got to segregate it, figure out who's.
So is
Okay.
it safe to say
So-
that Stephanie and,
So
okay.
Sherry, you and Stephanie are gonna work on this and get you, she's gonna order the card in your name
Yeah.
and then it's taken care of.
Well, it'll be in the town's
Yeah.
town's name,
Town, you're the purchasing agent.
you're the
right.
purchasing agent, okay.
American
Okay,
Express can be
good.
tough. I mean, they used to call me and say, don't leave home with it, you know,
Yeah.
during time, so,
They're
Okay.
very
sorry.
Or we can see what's in your wallet.
That's right.
Well, you pay it.
Right, they
pay it
shouldn't
off.
pay accrues any
It's no interest.
I like the no
Okay,
charge card.
so we're gonna move on to committee reports.
Wait, I got one more thing we were supposed to put on the agenda, but we didn't.
Go.
So, that personnel file cabinet, guys.
No, that's gonna
No,
be
no, that has
executive.
to go on the record. This is in state law that the town clerk has the responsibility of the town records, including those personnel files. I had an incident where, right during the height of tax season, I needed a file out of there for someone who worked for the town back in the 90s. I had to go digging, but I also needed the personnel file to find out the date that I was gonna go dig for. You were in the office, I was able to get that file. But then you were gone later on. I was still doing the research for 2 days in the height of tax season. And what happened was I ended up at the end of the day throwing that file that I couldn't get back into that locked cabinet. I had to put that person's personal employee file in with my checkbooks locked in a cabinet, okay? And then it got underneath, you know, it was like the weekend, and it got shoved underneath the checkbooks. So honestly, it didn't go back in to the file cabinet it was supposed to go into until weeks later. I've done a lot of research. I have actually researched into why the town board may have gotten confused with these duties. I have been researching for hours. I've had my deputy working on the research. We've come up with a lot of interesting things. And there, just in a nutshell, at one point, there was someone who who was hired through the town back in the 90s, and I won't name names, but they became an account clerk for the supervisor, basically. And I think that's where a lot of that confusion began, because those files were in that other business office. But if you look at the rules and regulations and what I'm liable for, I just want the town board to know, and I want it on record, that, you know, if anything was to go amiss, it's on record that I have been shut out of those records and that I'm not allowed in them by my other peers, the people on the board. So that if a problem arises, it is on record that I'm probably still liable, but at least it's on record. I don't want someone's personal file to just get lost in a shuffle somewhere. I want to be able to do my job and put it back.
If the clerk is finished,
Go right ahead.
I would move that this is the extension of this conversation be an executive session. And I would ask one question of the clerk, which is, have any of the board members received any of this in writing to them? Has any of the board members
any research
received
I'd
any of
like
the
to
research that is being alluded
I
to?
have it right here.
I understand that, but the forum is particularly when we're gonna have unnamed other employees and so on. This is an absolute positive executive session discussion,
Okay, I sent things out in October to you all.
not
Not the research.
what you're talking about here.
The current research?
Yeah, she did.
No, I got
Oh,
what you
no, I
sent
got
then.
that, but
Yeah.
I mean, anything new, no.
But I would move that
I'll
the
second.
remainder of this be an executive session.
I'll second it.
Okay, Don. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, next is committee reports. Don.
No committee reports.
Okay, Neil.
No, not anything that we haven't already touched on.
Okay. Michelle.
We are, 4 weeks into ski lessons at this point. Finally, we're able to get a couple in with weather participating. They did have to cancel this last week because it was so cold.
Yeah.
Oak Mountain ended up closing that Friday night, or that whole day Friday. And Kathy and I are now working on a plan for skiing over February break for the kids.
It's very important,
Yeah, super.
very important. Hopefully, Mother Nature will cooperate.
Is there any money in the coffers for maybe a sponsored trip to Gore?
The ski club, well, Gore has always been out of the reach of the school ski club because they don't offer any
money-wise.
breaks, yeah. So if they have in the past done West, they have done, it's actually cheaper to go to Pico for 2 days and get hotel rooms than it is to, yeah, because we used to be able to get tickets at the Warren Miller shows.
Yeah.
And that would give you breaks on a lot of these mountains. We've done night skiing over at, over near Utica, there's a mountain too. But Gore doesn't offer any breaks to, that kind of club,
Groups.
so.
So it's cheaper to go to Vermont
For 2 days.
for 2 days than it is to go to a state-owned
Wow.
ski place that's a half hour away.
Yeah, I know it used to be that very few of the people that skied there when I was a skier actually paid full price, because they always had programs going.
They have,
It's different now.
there's a couple of things that they've done but, you know, they don't give out the tickets at the movies. I don't know if they've even done the Warren Miller thing this year.
They went last year and there were no tickets there, so I don't think they went this year.
Got it. But that's how they pay for a lot of the extras and, you know, nowadays kids can't even have a bake sale unless everything's baked
Right.
at the school.
Right.
Prove the
Yeah.
inspected kitchen.
Yeah, it's gotta be an inspected kitchen. So I'm not sure what their plans are this year. Do they have any trips planned? I know
Not to my
they,
knowledge, I know Sheila's talked about it, but I don't think they have anything set yet.
they're working on it, but I will, ask about Gore and you know what? Maybe we can call them and say, hey, courtesy. You know, just.
If someone could pull that off, it would be
It won't
you.
happen.
But it would be you.
Why?
I don't know, because you're
'Cause I'm
just,
a nag?
you're persistent and.
No, I don't believe
I don't
George
say
when he
you're a
says that.
nag. Okay, Kath, did you have anything, committee report?
The short-term rental committee met a couple of weeks ago. We have another meeting in a week and a half, towards the end of the month. We're working, hoping to have a good neighbor flyer to bring to the board with, for your approval. And some other ideas that we're working on. We're starting to get short on time as far as, you know, laws and regulations and whatever. Gathering a ton of information about what other places are doing and problems that they've had, concerns, ways around it. But at this point, we'll have something to bring to you. This is, you know, it's a good neighbor, you know, how to be a good neighbor. And the idea of safety as well by providing, you know, a quick access to numbers in case of emergency and the area.
Really good start,
Problems.
really good start. Yeah. Stephanie, anything?
Not for committee, no.
No. Okay. Randy? Okey dokes. So, next, looking for a motion to pay the bills
So moved.
for all 3 vouchers. One is the wire transfers, which is just electric bills, phone bills dated on January 26th. The next bill paid dated January 30th, which is the health insurance / retirees insurance, and the National Grid bill for the ban, which was approved at the last meeting, Resolution 17. And February 2nd is a regular bill pay. So I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move.
Okay, second?
1 second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Any opposed? Okay, next is public comment.
I can't think of a thing.
Oh, what? Karen!
No.
Karen! Woo! Okay. Donna?
We rely on you.
Nothing? Okay. Eileen?
So, going to our issue with the campgrounds.
I don't know how to do it or who's in charge of it, but it seems during our 4th of July parade, everybody in the campgrounds comes out to the parade. to maybe incorporate some kind of Adirondack camping and how to save our fall camping
Sounds like a good theme.
into the theme of the 4th of July parade this year.
Mhm.
That's why you have the campers who are in those campgrounds aware of what's going on.
Even if we could get Casey to print more of those postcards, hand them out during the parade.
He will.
Which
Yeah.
I have been
You know.
going around Oak Mountain and talking to people, and I've sent out 40, 45 of them. I bought the stamps, talked to the people, had them
Me
sign
too.
it, and sent them out.
And
too.
also, you know, that's good to do and it's great, I'm mailing my own. But go on to the governor's page and just email him, because that seemed to get the most terse response I've gotten yet.
Kathy, take the postcards down to
The
Pinehurst,
governor's
that's why I did,
office
and got my
talked to
family
the
to all
Region
sign them
5
and mailed
director,
them down
told
there,
them
so
to
it's a
do
different
something
part
like
of the
that.
state.
But the
All right,
parade
I'll take them down.
thing
Parade's
would be
good.
awesome.
I'll just go to
Terrific.
the nursing home and.
Not bash, but I'll say it bash.
It's information, that's all we gotta get the word out.
Just information, and I mean, make somebody could have the idea of making the fall colored leaves on the float, and so it's that fall time, cause that's when
Or a big
we're having it.
Big
Circle
across
in
New
a
York
line.
City.
We support fall camping in the
No,
Adirondack.
it's a nice parade, you have to keep it nice.
You have to keep it clean.
No disrespecting smoke.
What's the theme of the parade this year, Donna? Historical?
Historical characters in the
Adirondacks.
Adirondacks, yeah.
That camped here in the fall?
What's that?
That camped here-
Yeah, one of them is gonna be, you know, like a gravestone with the campgrounds on it, you know? It's just
Too
a little
funny,
tree in the back.
too funny.
What is
Okay.
Robert Smullen doing about all this?
He's active.
He is active,
Yeah.
he got together with a few other, assemblymen and, folks and wrote a letter. And he's trying, but, you know, nobody's really getting any firm anything.
Well, just
No
keep in
answers.
mind, we talked about this at the last meeting, one of that group, Bill Farber, Bob Smullen, a few others, realized some of this stuff wouldn't even get read, letters, you know, posting and whatnot, unless we had some Democratic supporters.
Exactly. It's
And
politics.
that letter is the only one I know of that has Democratic sponsors in it, several of them from the Catskills, who also can read these tea leaves, that they too will be adversely affected in the near future. I don't know what traction it's gotten, but I've seen the letter. And Farber was very proud of the fact that they had, as they say, a bipartisan approach, because, you know, we may be a very strong little enclave of red voters in the park, but the real strong players in the park, the environmentalists and so on, are Democrat leaning, and certainly Albany is that way, as is the governor and those that are in control. They have to feel that this is a very bipartisan, very, very common sense issue that you know, that they're wrong on.
I think you have to reach out to the Democrats.
We do, that's what I've done in my last,
Yeah.
we don't have a lot right around here. I took Shorty aside to do just that last time.
Yeah.
I said, if you got any, you know, you
He
can
does have
buttonhole.
connections.
What
He
about all the
does.
second homeowners who
does
live
have
downstate? I mean,
Well, the second homeowners would be good, but they don't know, they don't feel that as much, you know what I mean? Because they have
no,
a
but
place to
they're-
go to.
A lot of them are Democratic.
Well, they are. We just need to continually to look for, myself personally, I think, public awareness, i.e. TV exposure, that says, what, you know, whatever.
Well, I think that's the key, that somebody had mentioned earlier in the meeting today, about the public exposure and having a piece on. I think
Greg
it was
Floyd.
Caitlin, she left it.
Right.
She said she knew somebody in the media.
I hope she
Oh,
does.
she does?
She mentioned it, yeah.
Oh, this one.
She made some comments about that, you know, but I think that's a very important
All right.
avenue that nobody has followed up on, is to get a little blurb. You know, they have slow news days, you know?
And if we don't
Yeah.
get a response during the winter from those media outlets, which would be the best, I think a strong protest, a lot of folks from the area out there when the campsite opens in spring for their usual business, make enough noise that the TV people will cover it.
You've gotta get that point across now though, because
Yes.
people who are making reservations are told on the website that they're not taking
No
reservations for
question.
the ball.
So they're going somewhere else.
They're already,
Campers-
we're booked for all
It's
next
already
summer.
a done
That's
deal.
right, they're
90%
booked.
of campers are all booked for,
Exactly, you plan ahead, I mean, look how far, you've always,
We're
we've had to make
down
reservations.
You go elsewhere,
Oh,
obviously.
absolutely, I would be looking
Right, but-
elsewhere already now.
you're booking it now
is the
for
time
next
that you've
summer.
gotta be
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
media and make that point.
Don, is that around the time,
Not in the
around now,
spring.
would this be when you'd be booking?
They
To put
have
your-
a 90-day setback. You can't reserve any more than 90 days ahead. And if you wanna get a lakefront site
Oh.
or a prime site in any of these campgrounds, you've gotta start making your reservations
Oh,
1
you-
minute after midnight in order to get
I
the
thought it
prime.
was even longer than
No,
90 days.
90 days.
90 days?
Yeah, but you wanna be, like you said,
Yeah, 1 minute after midnight, you wanna be clicking that reserve button,
Right,
because otherwise you're gonna lose it.
yeah, okay,
Or there are places you can go where they
right,
put post cancellations.
okay.
Okay, so let's move on. Kathy, roundtable.
Roundtable, we did, oh, we're starting roundtable now.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're done
the,
with public comment.
6th and 7th grade, is having a fundraiser, Valentine's Day at the school. Come one, come all.
2 grades this year, huh?
It's a very,
The Valentine's dinner.
the
that they're doing
Valentine's
here.
dinner is going to
What
be
are they
February
serving?
14th. Pasta with 2 choices of sauces.
Oh, okay. That's
Roll
Tues-
salad, the
That's
14th,
Tuesday? On
the
Tuesday?
14th.
What time is that?
I didn't bring a poster. I'll bring it to the meeting tomorrow,
Thank you,
and I'll put it up at the library.
because I missed it last year and I don't normally
I
miss
believe
it.
it's 5 to 7.
Okay,
Sounds right.
okay.
Anything else? No? Rochelle?
This coming weekend, myself and Christy Wilt will be attending the Small Communities Big Opportunities Conference held by ANCA. That'll be up in Saranac Lake. Just trying to help our existing businesses who are trying to sell, as well as trying to bring entrepreneurs to the area to buy those businesses for sale, so.
Okay, Stephanie?
Just 3 quick things. We've had seniors contacting us at Town Hall about the letter that went out. I did call up to Real Property Tax and ask today if they should be talking up there to Real Property Tax or just the assessor, and they said the assessor. So if you know seniors that are confused with that letter or inquiring about that letter, have them call the assessor. It's extension 5 at Town Hall, and leave her a message. She does check the messages, even though she's only there on Thursday.
No.
So I
Yeah.
haven't talked with her yet. I
Local
don't
issue.
know if
She
she's
got
making-
13 messages in one day.
Yeah,
She's really
got
busy.
mail too. The other thing is, taxes for the town are collected to date and then over. We're still collecting and we'll keep collecting until April 3rd, I think it is, and the rest goes to the county, but it really reeled in pretty quick and processed very quickly this year.
Good.
It's gone well. We've only had a few people crying to us on the phone, but that's all worked out. Few mysteries, but those worked out. And then the other thing is, I did get the letter up to the county, and it looks like elections is doing great. They've already got packets out for, and we have 5 vacancies up for the next election.
I was
So,
impressed.
They did get their letter.
I don't remember getting an unsolicited packet.
No, they never used to do that.
I mean, mine came.
I always got them.
They mailed to you?
Yeah.
I have never
Right
gotten
from-
I
one.
always had to go get mine.
I always had to
Me
go
too.
get mine
Printed
too.
on top.
To see who they want, you
It's
know.
gotta
who
be
they-
pretty pricey sending out all those to every town.
Well, I was appreciative of it, and it will probably get me off of my normal procrastination, but I was surprised.
Okay, Neil, anything?
Nothing for it.
Don?
I may have mentioned this last meeting, but the Route 8 and 30 construction, I was thinking about that a little bit ago, and so I figured I'd call up Utica and see what was going on. And they transferred me to 4 different people, And then they finally told me to call Dean in Indian Lake, which I did. And Dean said they'll probably be started after Memorial Day. But he said it will probably be done this year.
Getting a little
Probably.
reputation there, bro.
Yeah, I know, I need to get a job.
Okay.
But he also said that, they were talking about Route 8 between the intersection and county line. And that's not gonna be a Band-Aid next time they do it, like they have been doing. He says they're gonna do
Good.
major roadbed work, but that's not gonna happen for a few years.
Damn it, what I heard too.
Okay, a couple things. I would like to mention at our county board meeting this past week, Sean O'Brien, well, first of all, I should say Assemblyman Smullen and his staff had presented Sean there with a plaque. All the sheriff's department was there, all in uniform, really a touching ceremony.
Impressive.
Then the president from the New York State Sheriff's Association was there and presented him with a plaque, but also called Carl Abrams up and wanted to inform all of us that of all the sheriffs in New York State, Carl is the most active and involved sheriff of all the sheriffs, and he felt that Hamilton County should know this and be proud of what we have. And then also the Board of Supervisors also gave a plaque to Sean. He was very shy, but it was a wonderful day for him. His children were there, his wife was there, his mom, his brother. It was really a great day, really nice presentations.
We had donuts for him at school.
Oh, yeah?
Well, he is a cop.
Yeah, imagine that.
Donuts and hot chocolate.
The next senior bus trip is February 15th, and it's going to Colony Mall. You have to call Doris Sloan if you want to reserve. I did go on the bus, and I got Jane Zarecki to go with me. The last trip, we went to Utica. I'm telling you, we had a great day. We went on the bus trip.
They're on there.
And we did. We had a good day, and we went out to lunch, and every store you went into, you'd be like, wow, fancy seeing you here. Wow, this is nice.
they ought to
So
report
it
the
was,
bus, yeah.
it was a nice experience. It really was. I want to mention that we have received a claim for unemployment for a part-time temp employee. I have filed a grievance with unemployment, which we know what that's like. We'll be
We won the
paying
last
it.
one, though.
We won it. We did win it. And we'll win this one too. But the man made $830 or $60 with us for the short time he worked for us. It was with BTI, and he'll be getting like $320. I did talk to the county to ask them possibly about doing it voucher like we do our boat. Do you remember, Neil, is there any reason why we didn't do that back then?
Well, you know, mix in Bill Sutphin and a couple of other things, they were under different contract, right? In my time. We paid Bill, and these
Okay.
folks were working under Bill's aegis. We probably could have, after I was gone, we probably could have done these as 1099 contract employees.
Okay, I talked to the county and not any more work for them, they're fine with it.
Good.
So, possibly, if that's what we wanna do.
It takes you off the hook for these sort of things
That's
that,
kinda,
that come
it's
5 years down the
aggravating.
road. right?
Yeah, it's aggravating. I mean, the guy was very independent, you know, he only did it a few times. You know, he kinda left by hanging a lot, you know, it's
Yeah,
so.
Some unsubstantiated.
Absolutely, and he didn't work for us last year, this is the
No.
year before.
Right.
So, yeah, so, okay, do I need a motion for that? No, okay, I can just
You've
go
already
ahead
made
and take.
the grievance.
Right, okay. Okay, next we received a letter from New York State Parks and Recreation and Historical Preservation on the grant that Chris had applied for, we did not receive it. Chris has also applied for another one through Lowe's, which is like maybe, I don't know, $1,500, $2,000, it was
The
a
company
small amount of
Lowe's?
money. The
No.
company Lowe's, yup. But she has also decided that she's gonna start doing raffles. So we know the town can't do anything like that, but Chris as an independent person can. So she's going to be working on that, and I will bring that to you once we have it all together. And we've now raised up to $31,936. And that is all I have. So at this time, I would like to thank everybody for coming, everybody, most of them are gone. But, we will be going into executive session. And Neil moved, a second,
Second.
okay? Thanks for coming.
Longest meeting you've had in
I-
oh my word.
Ever.
When did we turn into the village?
Who seconded that?
I don't know what the village meeting.
Don?